In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where maple trees lined the streets like silent guardians, a little girl named Emily stood at the edge of her driveway. She was 8 years old, with freckles across her nose and hair tied in two uneven pigtails. The morning sun filtered through the leaves, casting gentle shadows on the pavement. Emily clutched her backpack, her small fingers twisting the strap. Across the hedge, in the grand house next door, lived Alexander Thorne, a tall, stern man in his 50s, known around town as the grumpy CEO of a massive tech company. He rarely smiled, and his days were filled with board meetings and endless emails. But on this crisp autumn morning, Emily turned to him as he stepped out to fetch his newspaper. Her voice was soft, almost a whisper. "Will you walk me to school?" Alexander paused, his hand frozen on the mailbox. He glanced down at the girl, his brows furrowing under his silver-streaked hair. No one ever asked him for anything personal. His life was a fortress of solitude, built after years of climbing the corporate ladder. "Why me?" he grumbled, his voice deep and rough like gravel under tires. Emily looked up, her blue eyes wide and earnest. "Mom's sick again, and Dad's at work early. It's just a short walk." "Please." That simple question hung in the air, like the first leaf falling from a tree. Alexander Thorne, millionaire extraordinaire, felt a strange tug in his chest, a feeling he hadn't known in decades. He straightened his tie, cleared his throat, and muttered, "Fine, but just this once." As they started down the sidewalk, the world seemed to slow, the rustle of leaves and distant birdsong filling the space between them. The neighborhood of Willow Creek was a peaceful haven on the outskirts of Seattle. Houses with white picket fences stood proudly, each yard manicured like a postcard. Emily's home was modest, a cozy bungalow with flower boxes under the windows, painted a soft yellow that glowed in the sunlight. Her mother, Sarah, battled a chronic illness that left her bedridden on bad days, while her father, Tom, worked long hours as a mechanic to keep the bills paid. Emily was used to fending for herself, packing her own lunch, tying her own shoes, but walking to school alone felt scary, especially with the busy crosswalk near the park. Next door, Alexander's mansion loomed like a modern castle, all glass windows and sharp angles. He had moved there 5 years ago after his divorce, seeking escape from the city's chaos. His days started at dawn with black coffee and ended late with whiskey by the fireplace. Employees feared his sharp tongue, and neighbors avoided his gaze. He had built Thorne Tech from a garage startup into a billion-dollar empire, but success came at a cost. Friends faded, family drifted. His only daughter, now grown and distant, hadn't called in months. Loneliness wrapped around him like an invisible cloak, but he pushed it down, burying it under spreadsheets and deals. As they walked that first morning, Emily skipped a step ahead, her sneakers scuffing the concrete. "Do you like dogs, Mr. Thorne?" she asked, glancing back. Alexander grunted, his polished shoes clicking steadily. "Not particularly." "Too messy." She giggled, a light sound that echoed softly. "We have a puppy named Max. He's fluffy and loves chasing balls. Mom says he's good company when she's resting." Alexander nodded absently, his mind wandering to the merger meeting awaiting him, but something in her voice, innocent, unfiltered, made him listen. The air smelled of fresh dew and distant train, a calm that contrasted his racing thoughts. They passed Mrs. Jenkins' house, where the old widow waved from her porch swing. "Morning, Emily. Who's your friend?" Emily beamed. "This is Mr. Thorne from next door. He's walking me to school." Alexander tipped his head awkwardly, unused to small talk. The path wound through a small park, where squirrels darted up oaks and children laughed on swings in the distance. Emily pointed to a bench under a willow tree. "That's where I sit sometimes after school. It's quiet." Alexander slowed his pace, noticing how her shoulders relaxed here. "Why not go straight home?" he asked, surprising himself with the question. Emily shrugged, kicking a pebble. "Mom needs rest, and Dad's not home yet." "It's okay, I read books." Her words carried a weight too heavy for such small shoulders. Alexander felt a pang of memories of his own childhood surfaced, unbidden. His parents had been busy too, always working, leaving him to wander alone. He shook it off, focusing on the school gates ahead. As they arrived, Emily turned and hugged his leg quickly. "Thanks, Mr. Thorne. See you tomorrow?" He hesitated, then sighed. We'll see. But as he watched her run inside, waving, a small crack formed in his armored heart. The next day dawned with a light mist, the kind that softens the world's edges. Alexander found himself glancing out his window, half expecting her. Sure enough, Emily appeared, backpack slung over one shoulder. "Will you walk me again?" she asked, her smile hopeful. He grumbled about being busy but fell into step beside her. This became their routine, slow walks filled with her chatter about school projects, favorite cartoons, and dreams of becoming an astronaut. Alexander listened more than he spoke, his responses gruff but present. "Stars are far away," he'd say, "but reachable if you work hard." As weeks passed, the atmosphere shifted subtly. Autumn leaves turned gold and crimson, crunching underfoot like whispers of change. Emily's questions grew deeper. "Why do you live alone, Mr. Thorne? Don't you get lonely?" He'd pause, the cool breeze brushing his face. "Everyone's alone sometimes," he'd reply, his voice softer. In truth, these walks became his anchor, a brief escape from boardroom battles. He started noticing details, the way sunlight danced on puddles, the scent of baking bread from a nearby cafe. Emily's laughter filled the silence he once cherished, but tension simmered beneath the calm. Sarah's illness worsened, doctor's visits multiplied, and Tom's overtime stretched thin. Emily confided one foggy morning, her voice trembling. "Mom might need surgery. Dad says it'll be okay, but I'm scared." Alexander's jaw tightened. He remembered his ex-wife's battle with cancer years ago. The helplessness, the isolation. "Fear is normal," he said gently. "But you're strong." Still, he felt inadequate, a stranger in her world. At work, his temper flared. More colleagues whispered about his distractions. "Thorne's going soft," they said. He ignored them. But doubt crept in. Was he meddling, getting too close? One evening, as rain pattered against his windows, Alexander sat by the fire, glass in hand. His phone buzzed, a rare call from his daughter, Clara. "Dad, I saw your company's stock dip. Everything okay?" Her concern surprised him. He mentioned the walks, the girl next door. Clara paused. "Sounds like you, Dada, helping in your own grumpy way. Remember when I was little? You'd walk me to school, even on busy days." The memory hit like a wave, tiny hands in his, her pigtails bouncing. He had forgotten those moments, buried under ambition. Tears stung his eyes. "I miss that," he admitted. Clara's voice warmed. "Then don't stop now." The gentle twist came on a chilly November morning. Emily waited as usual, but her eyes were red-rimmed. "Mom's in the hospital," she whispered. "Dad's with her." "Can you still walk me?" Alexander nodded, but instead of the usual path, he suggested a detour through the park. They sat on the bench, the world hushed around them. "Tell me about your mom," he said. Emily poured out her fears. "Nights alone, worries about the future." Alexander listened, then shared his own story. Losing his parents young, building walls to survive. "But walls keep out the good too," he said. "Your family's lucky to have you." Emily hugged him, her small arms tight. In that moment, he realized she wasn't just a neighbor, she was a mirror to his forgotten self. From then on, the walks deepened. Alexander helped with homework over cookies at his kitchen table, his mansion echoing with her giggles. He arranged flexible hours at work, delegating more. When Sarah returned home post-surgery, he visited with casserole, less awkward but sincere. Tom shook his hand gratefully. "You've been a lifesaver, Alex." The name felt right. The Mr. Thorne barrier dissolved. Winter arrived softly, snow blanketing Willow Creek like a fresh start. On Christmas Eve, Emily knocked on his door, holding a handmade card. "For my favorite neighbor," it read, with a drawing of them walking hand in hand. Alexander's heart swelled. That night, Clara flew in unexpectedly, bridging years of distance. Over dinner, stories flowed older than you. Emily joined, her family too, turning his empty house into a home. As spring bloomed, the walks continued, but Emily grew bolder, crossing streets with confidence. "I can do it alone now," she said one day, grinning. Alexander nodded, proud yet bittersweet. Their bond endured to picnics, stargazing, simple joys. He learned that true wealth wasn't in bank accounts but in connections forged step by step. In the end, Alexander Thorne, once grumpy and isolated, found redemption in a child's question. It reminded him that life's greatest mergers happen heart to heart. And perhaps, dear listener, it's time to reach out to your own neighbor, ask how they are, offer a walk. You never know what path it might open.